Hey Truth Seekers, it's Nathaniel here to do another strategy series video. Today we'll be covering the win cons for Hope. Alrighty. So to start with, we have the Fearless Socro. So Socro is a level 2. He's a 2 that provides 2 times virtue points. The only way that this has value is by using its action, which says Harvest times 1, means you can only use an action with Harvest once per turn. At the time this card is activated, it is worth 2 virtue points for each card in your hand, up to 6 virtue points max. Alright? Up to 16 virtue points max. So this right here can be worth up to 16 for 2, meaning that it can have a value of 8 virtue points per power card you pay for it. However, you need Socro level 1 and Socro level 2, so that's 2 cards. Plus, you need up at least 8 cards in your hand in order to get the 16 value. Otherwise, he's worth 2 points less for each card you less than that you have in hand. So, in total, for 10 cards, he's going to be 16 virtue points. He's still a pretty good win con, but you do need to run a lot of cards that are going to leave extra cards in your hand at the end of your turn. So keep that in mind. Next up, we have Oinkum level 2. So typically I like to use Animo that have a virtue point value of 9 or more, but Oinkum level 2 combos really well with a lot of things that Hope does because of its action, which I'll get to in a moment. He is a 2 for 8, and his action says search your deck for up to 2 Hope power cards. Place them directly in your power pool. Hope has the ability to shuffle power cards back into your deck, so this guy will replenish those. So say you shuffle 2 back, he'll put 2 back into your power pool when he's activated. It's really good value. He is going to be lower because he does end up being like 4 virtue points per power card paid for him, but he gets you 2 back. So it's almost like kind of like he's free, but you have to have the 2 first. Next up is Professor. So it is really hard to assess the value of Professor. He is 2 for 8, and you have to shuffle those 2 power cards back. But his action says search your deck for up to 2 level 1 Animo, excluding Ultra, and place them in your small group if the space provides. Shuffle your deck afterwards. Because of this action, he has the ability to combo off really well. So if you activate 1 Animo from your small group, and then you activate Professor, he'll be able to replenish your small group. So essentially what he does is he almost allows you to break the rule, because you're only allowed having up to 4 Animo in a full small group. So by activating 1 activated Professor, you're able to get 2 more, meaning that you can have up to 6 Animo in your small group, depending on what Animo you get back. So you could have, say, use Professor, go grab Tortosaur, who could do something similar, but only for 1, or grab another copy of Professor. So Professor extends plays, making him rank really high in my opinion, but it's hard to assess his value off of just point value alone. Next up, we have Schwimmer from Cross Trainers. So, unfortunately, the Cross Trainers Schwimmer gets outshined by the Red Letter Day Schwimmer, and that's just because the Red Letter Day Schwimmer can grab you a power card and doesn't require you to shuffle the power card back, so you can activate it with just your Truth Seeker. So Schwimmer from Red Letter Day has a lot more potential than this guy, but this guy is really good. So I still, in my deck that uses Holy Spirit Fellowship, I still consider running at least one of him and 2 of the other ones, because he shuffles 1 power cards back for 5, which is good value on its own, but he can become a Fellowship bonus for 9, which is phenomenal. And being a 1 for 9 puts him actually above this guy in value per power card. But this guy is just 1 Animo who does it for 16 for 1 Animo, but he costs 2 power cards. So they're going to rank pretty high up there together. Next up is Dependaroo level 3. Fun fact about Dependaroo level 3, he is the first level 3 for Hope Animo from basically even from the original base set. So he is a 1 for 9, which is great value, but he is a level 3. He requires you to have at least Dependeroo level 1 and Dependeroo level 2. And he has an ability that says once per turn, as long as this card is in your small group, you may choose to shuffle one card or a card from your hand in your deck. If you do, draw one card. My problem with him is that his ability isn't the greatest. Mostly because the Socro exists. He's a level 1 with the exact same effect, except he says any one card and he just says a card from your hand into your deck. So essentially they do the same thing. He's just a level 1, he's a level 3. He does produce more value though, and he's the weakness for Scorch from Fearless. So there's some play. Plus, there was a Bibleverse challenge with him. That card looks pretty good. And this Bibleverse is dear to my heart as well. So I don't want to like diss on this Dependeroo all the time. And he is the first level 3. So, however, 1 for 9, still great value. So I'm going to put him up here with the Swimmer. All right, next up. Socro from Red Letter Day. So he's a 2 for 9. And meaning that he's a value of 4.5 for 2 cards, because he requires a level 1 and he's a level 2. But he has an ability that puts him up there great with utility, saying ability, when this card is played from your hand, grow 1 Socro level 1, you may shuffle your hand back into your deck. So he has utility, so I'm going to put him up here with Professor and Oinkum. Next up is Hightail level 1. Alright, so Hightail level 1 is a 2 for 9. It is better value than Professor, alright, who's a 2 for 8. And you have to shuffle both those power cards back. But 90% of the time, you are not going to use him to activate, or her to activate. You are going to use Retreat, which is a once per turn ability that says if this card's in your hand, you may choose to reveal it to your opponent and shuffle it back in your deck. If you do, draw 3 cards. This is ridiculous, because essentially you can just keep shuffling it back. You can shuffle it back in your deck and draw 3 cards. And the next turn, if you draw another one, you can do the same thing again. So this card has a lot. It basically kind of replaces a lot of story cards in decks that draw cards, because it has the ability to basically be a 1 for 3. It's great value. And then I even use this guy to activate to win one of my games in the championship, because I just play him, pay 2, shuffle him back in my deck. I don't care about my power cards anymore, just to get the 9 points to get to the 77. I win. So this Hightail, strong value for a level 1. On average, you're looking about 3 to 4 virtue points per power card, and so this guy being a 9 at a 4.5 is fair value, decent. It's more of a utility card. I'm going to put it up here with the Socro Professor Oinkum. Next up, we have Glimmer level 2 and Glimmer level 2. I'm going to talk about both these guys at the same time. So, Glimmer level 2 from Cross Trainers is a 2 for 6. Terrible value for a level 2, but it does have that handy 10 fellowship bonus when it's paired up with a Faith Animo. It also has a universal cost. So this card has a lot going for it, because you can reduce this cost with, say, like Mercifier or Aquilion, and then it becomes a 1 for 10, which is amazing value. But now you're pairing up cards that don't necessarily naturally mesh with its theme. Glimmer level 2 is a 2 for 7, already beating out this guy, but has the ability, says when this card is played from your hand to grow Glimmer level 1, you may draw 2 cards. And that ability on top of it just seals the deal. It does lose the universal cost, doesn't need it, because 2 for 10 is still good value. 2 for 7 is better value than the 2 for 6 that this guy has, and has the ability that says when this card is played from your hand, grow Glimmer level 1, and you may draw 2 cards. However, since it's max value, so this card actually, so all fellowship cards need the cards you need to play them. So this needs a level 1 and itself. but it also needs one other card to match its type. So these cards need at least 3 in order to get the most value out of it. But most of the time we just grow this guy and just set on him until we can use the fellowship bonus. Normally that is within the same turn in the decks that we use them for. So I'm going to rank this one lower and this one higher, but they're both they both produce 5 virtue points per power card used to pay for them. Next up, Percy level 3. All right, Percy level 2. Percy level 2 from Red Letter Day. I feel bad for Percy, but he has a lot of things going for him. Number one, he's a 3 for 10, meaning that he is actually our worst value card of the night. He produces 3.3 repeating, or 3.3 virtue points for each power card used to activate him. But his action makes up for it. His action says search your deck for any 2 cards and place them in your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. We use this Percy in our Soul Crow deck as a utility card, but also we make him cost just 2 because we run a Mercifier Ultra from Fearless in that deck, reducing his universal cost to make him just cost 2 hope. Which, of course, if that's out, then this guy costs 1, so essentially I'm paying 3 for all these guys, and that's a total of 26 points for 3 power cards in the same turn. I normally activate him to get my hand up to 8, so I can use this guy. So this Percy is really good. I am going to go ahead and put this guy with the utility cards. Next up is Conqueror level 2. He's a 2 for 10. He was really good because he's 5 virtue points per power card used to activate him. But we have a new Conqueror who's way better. I'm going to rank this guy along with the Glimmers. But he has printed value 10, so you don't have to activate him with anyone to get the fellowship bonus. So he just requires 2 cards. Next up, we have Percy level 2. This one I debated on because he is a 2 for 11. He is a 5.5 virtue points for power cards you're activating for. He is absolutely excellent. But we don't run him in any decks because he doesn't do enough. The best deck that we put him in is with the Mercifier Ultra or Quillion Ultra, because it makes him a 1 for 11, which is even better value. And still just requiring 2 cards for 11 is really great value. So I'm going to place him up here above these guys, above the utility cards. Next up, I have Dependaroo level 2. Dependaroo level 2 is a 1 for 9, meaning that he's already on par with this guy. However, he's already beating out his level 3. Oh, I feel bad for the level 3. But I feel like they were trying to make some good one-cost level 3s, because in this set we also got Kelbecca and Positifany. So we already had some good options, but this Dependaroo I'm still going to run over this guy. Mostly because this guy requires 3 cards to play, so it requires level 1, level 2, level 3. This guy requires just level 1, level 2, and this guy doesn't even give you hand advantage. He requires you to shuffle the power card or shuffle a card from your hand back into your deck to draw a card. Where I'm not shuffling any cards, and basically I get to keep the extra card in hand because I don't have to grow until level 3. However, if I do not want to shuffle the power card back to get the 9, I could just grow him into level 3 anyhow, which I have done on occasion. But the best value out of this guy, and the reason why he's so far back on my list, is because he has a fellowship bonus. You're shuffling 1 power card back to get a 12. Overall, for a card that doesn't have any actions or abilities, a 1 for 12 is good enough to me. We actually use him in our Link, Hope, and Holy Spirit deck, which uses a Quillion in him. And that's just 2 power cards to get 19 virtue points in a single turn. Or not 19, sorry, get 22 virtue points for 2. And that's essentially 11 virtue points per 1. And it's really good. It's a really good deck. It's really fun. But he has great value. I am going to rank him up here with our other good boys. Next up, Flaming Grow level 2. So the Flaming Grow lines are interesting because you got the universal Flaming Grow that can grow into Faith, Hope, Love, or Holy Spirit. And they all do different things. This one is a 9 for 2. He ain't competing with this guy. But, at all. Because he ends up becoming a 2 for 12. Still great value because this is 6 virtue points per power card. Meaning that it's already beating out this guy. So, this Flamingo, I still want to put in the deck, but just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good because he doesn't do anything, and I have better utility cards in a Hope and Faith deck. So oftentimes I just pass up Flaming Grow, and besides that, there are other Flaming Grows that help out that deck better. So pass on this guy, but his value is better than the Percy, so I don't know, rank him up here. Next up, Gazoom. All right, so Gazoom has something going for it that's really good, and it is the fact that it's a level 1 for 12. 12 virtue points. The only downside to him is that he requires you to shuffle back one of his power cards. Alright, Gazoom being a 3 for 12 is kind of a bummer, but he has basically the same value as like a lot of the Ultras do. But he does require you to shuffle back a power card. But it doesn't have to be a Hope. I prefer it to be a Hope personally because, you know, Oinkum can grab it back. But it can be any power card. So that's a plus. I had a buddy who built a deck, and he just ran like 3 of these guys in a toolbox to just keep replaying this guy, because consistently in 12 points every single turn was really good. All right, but he is a 4 for 12, so unfortunately he ranks lower virtue point wise than Glimmer. Now we finally get to Conqueror level 2 for Fearless. He is a 2 for 12, which that's 2 Hope. As the action says, search your deck for any 4 cards and place them on top of your deck in any order. This guy is phenomenal. First off, 2 for 12 puts him at 6 virtue points, putting him above the Flaming Grow. He only requires 2 cards, Conqueror level 1 and himself. And then on top of that, his action allows you to stack your deck with the next 4 cards you're going to draw. That's awesome. Carolyn, in her game against me, would realize like, oh, I have 4 or 5 cards in hand. I'm only going to draw one of these cards. So I'm going to take, she put a Hidden Treasure on top of her deck. So that way she would draw the Hidden Treasure along with the 3 other cards she wanted. And she'd play Hidden Treasure, place one on the bottom deck, and then draw those 3 cards. Really good value. However, because it is an action, he doesn't instantly get you those cards to your hand. You do have to wait until your next turn to draw them. Meanwhile, your opponent can play Grasshopper from Cross Trainers on you, or Giant Killer your Mega away and force you to shuffle your deck. So beware of that. However, virtue point power value-wise, he ranks up there. So, going to go ahead and rank these guys per their value. We are definitely going to place Dependaroo up really high, along with Schwimmer, because you use less cards to play him. Dependaroo level 3. This guy is a Socro, can be up to an 8 value-wise. This guy is a 6. And Flamingo level 2 is a 6. Next up, we got Percy, who ends up being a 5.5, along with Conqueror, Hope Glimmer, and Faith Glimmer. And then we are going to rank the 4.5s, which actually this guy's going to rank higher than Sokro because he's level 1. And then for our final tier, we are going to have our Professor, Gazoom, Oinkum, and Percy. Okay? This is how I would rank them based off of their virtue point value. However, you'll notice that like even in my competitive deck, I ran Hightail, Professor, and Oinkum, and I didn't really run any of the other ones. This guy's still really good in Fellowship with Dinosaurs. This guy we built an entire deck around. This guy we built an entire deck around. This one we use in Fellowship with Dinosaurs. Unfortunately, due to the existence of this Conquersaur, we have phased out this Conquersaur. So, this guy trumps him every time. Same cost, better value. Also better art, like in my opinion. Like, no diss to Dantran, but oh, there's lightning in the background. But this guy looks more fierce and the waves crashing against him. Like, Alex, you did a great job on this. And unfortunately, I'll probably still use the level 1 Glimmer from this guy, from Cross Trainers. But if I'm going to build a deck focusing on this, I'm definitely going to use the Flaming Grow. It's better value. Unless, of course, I need to worry about shuffling power cards back. But still going to use level 1. But I'm going to focus on this guy. The war between the Percys. I mean, all really it depends on is what your deck needs. Quite frankly, I mentioned you can use the Mercifier or Quillion Ultras to offset that universal cost. This guy has better value, but if you're looking to search for cards, this Percy is normally going to trump out this one. But the artwork is actually pretty good, especially when it's a full art. I actually do have a full art. Let me go grab that for a moment. Yeah, just look at that artwork. That artwork is just absolutely gorgeous. So, where this Percy is like not that great because he doesn't do as much as this guy does. His artwork is great. He's worth running just for the artwork. And you might even, in a deck that uses them, uses the Mercifier, you might even choose to run this Percy alongside this Percy. So you might do a 2-2 split or a 2-1 split just to get the same value out of this guy, but also have this guy as a backup. Because making him a 2 for 11 rather than a 3 for 10, it just depends on what your deck needs. It really does. Yep, these guys get paired off a lot because of their cost. I use these guys in the deck I mentioned. I use these guys in the same deck. This guy I can put in the same deck as a backup. We built a Simon deck. Carolyn built a Simon deck that utilizes this guy, but she's stuck with this guy instead of the level 2 from Fearless. I feel bad for this Sokro because I would like to use this Sokro in a deck that uses this Sokro. Unfortunately, this Sokro is the win con. So it depends on what your deck needs. Because if you want to build a deck that uses this win con, use this guy. You might do a 2-1 split. So that way you can still get the 5 more cards for your turn. And then back it up with like Hightail and the Rich Fool and stuff to help draw extra cards. But really, it comes down to the same thing with him. It depends on what your deck needs. Gazoom, quite frankly, I think that he's like one of the real winners here because he's the level 1 that provides the most value. He's a level 2 that provides the most value, but he requires 3 cards to get to his max value. But this guy, he just requires the 3. Same value as an Ultra. There's a reason why the Ultras are limited in your deck, even from cross trainers before they had actions or abilities. And this guy, he just comes in there and he's just like, Gazoom, I'm just getting you all the points really fast. I hope we get a new card of him. I would like it to be the same value, but just give it an action or ability. Maybe require you to shuffle more power cards back. I don't know how that would balance, but I like Gazoom. I want to run him in the deck, but he doesn't do enough, so oftentimes he ends up being like one of the first cards I cut. But he is a card that you can still grab with like Profess Hair. That's not an Ultra, but gives you the same value as an Ultra. All right. So in the meantime, True Seekers, I'm going to bring this video to a close. This has been my ranking of the win cons that you can use to build your hope decks. So in the meantime, Truth Seekers, keep learning virtues and defeating cities.